And what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Inland Sports Show Home Edition. Our director, Johnny Nunez, who is the absolute best in all of the business, he had another gig tonight. So he's out there broadcasting another event. So we're here at home. So this was planned. Everything is good. We're all healthy. Everything is good. We'll be back in the studio next week. But it's not like we couldn't just not do a show this week because the high school football playoffs are finally here. So a little bit later in the show, listen, I know you guys don't know all of them by name. They're not exactly household names yet, but we have a whole team behind the scenes that go out and shoot video each and every week. We've got about 5 or 6 dedicated guys. They're going to join me a little bit later on the show because they have seen more high school football than anybody else in the IE. They might say they have a show. They might say they write articles. Nobody has covered more high school football than us and what we do here and also on Sports Weekly Live. So we're going to talk to the whole gang and see what they think about these high school football playoffs and these first round matchups, get their thoughts on how they think this might kind of play out in the next couple of weeks. Also, we're going to break down the beginning of the California Baptist University basketball season. The Lancers will tip things off. Actually, less than a week away. Next Tuesday night is opening night for college basketball. So we'll talk some Lancer basketball with Kyle McDonald. He is the guy for the WAC Hoops Digest. So make sure you check that out as well because they will break down all things Western Athletic Conference all season long, but definitely here coming up in about 35 minutes. So we'll talk some college basketball as well. Joining us though on the show, he's still flying the colors. He still has the Hemet H. It is the great Dennis Gregovich. And Coach Gregovich, hey, you always make time for the show. I always appreciate it. I know you recently stepped down at Hemet, but I know you're still proud to be a Bulldog. You're telling me you might be doing golf or you might be doing something else. You're more than a football guy.
Absolutely. I'm just looking to take a little time while trying to see what's next and go from there. But I think I've considered a lot of things, but yeah, I always represent Hemet. Proud of that district, proud of my time there.
Well, Coach, as we start breaking down these matchups, before we get to the matchups, do you want to get back into coaching? What do you think the future might look like for you?
I'm definitely going to get back into coaching at some time, but I think all the coaches a little bit, from that past 5-game season, the whole year leading up into the doing the pod stuff, it really took its toll on me. So I just knew it was a good time for me at the end of this year to help make the transition with the younger kids we had, give them the best season we could do, and then try and find somebody to turn the program over to. And I know we've got a couple good guys on staff. I'm hoping one of them is going to get the opportunity to be that head coach and going to leave it in great hands. And I can't wait to see what's next for Hemet football.
Well, Coach, as we're looking at these football playoff matchups, I know a lot of these coaches in the area. Even though you guys didn't make the playoffs, were you still kind of excited to see the brackets come out? And what were your thoughts when you did see the brackets come out like everybody else?
Excited to see them. I thought there was some really good matchups that were happening. It was exciting to see Tockwitz get in there. I was excited to see West Valley finally make a return. Loved the matchup between San Jacinto and Beaumont. I thought that was a great one. North, was excited because I got to see them play. And Orange Vista, the Zomals going back there, getting that stuff rolling. So, there's some really good matchups, but I'm excited to see them. I haven't decided which one I'm going to. I'm going to lean a little bit towards going to see my other buddy over there, Coach Raymer and Robbie Robinson over at Chaparral. So that one's close to my house. So that's probably the one I'm going to cruise down and watch.
So, Coach, as we look at these football brackets, and again, you know a lot of these coaches, you've seen some of these teams personally. The first thing I wanted to ask you was this new format. We didn't know what the playoff divisions were going to look like. We didn't know what the brackets were going to look like until the end of the regular season. What did you think? What did you make of this new format in terms of not knowing your division until the playoffs began?
I got to be honest, from the couple coaches I had spoke to, I was not a fan of it. Did not like it. I like knowing and having an idea of where you might fit in. Getting to see this person's got this record, they've got this, will probably be here. But it really, I think, got to a good couple of coaches because you just didn't know where else, where you were going to end up. But some people towards the end, Pep, I was really impressed that they were able to put it together so well, and some of them did figure out at least what division they were in. But I wasn't a fan of it myself.
So, Coach, now that we see the brackets and stuff, was there anything, because, you've seen a lot of high school football, you've coached in a lot of games, was there anything that kind of jumped out at you in terms of maybe a team in a specific division or maybe a matchup that's looming out there? Anything jump out at you?
The big one for me, just because they're both good friends, was the Beaumont San Jacinto one. I think that's a great matchup. The fact that makes it a little more intriguing is the fact that they already played one time. It was earlier in the season, and they both had an outstanding year, and they're coming a long way. So I think that one will be that's going to be one of the favorite ones that really jumped out at me that I was interested in.
Well, Coach, it's hard to beat the same team twice in one season, and I had the scores open right here. I think Beaumont lost to San Jacinto the first time around. I think it was like 44-33, something like that. What's it like trying to face the same team a second time, knowing that maybe you already used all your best plays and all your tricks are out of the bag already?
Well, I think it's a couple fold over. The first thing is, like you said, it is hard to beat a team like that. Either way, when you're trying to win it for the second time, but you're going to give Coach Steinberg an opportunity to sit back and review film and see things that may have slowed San Jacinto down a little bit. But he's going to be better prepared. Coach Galliano is really good at what he does, getting his team prepared, and he'll look and Coach Galliano is not going to sit on anything. He's going to try and put the pedal to the metal and go. And it's going to be really great to see what those two come up with. So it'll be interesting.
So, Coach, we talked about some of these Mountain Pass League schools. You also saw JW North, and we've talked quite a bit about the Huskies this season, going 10-0 during the regular season. They won the Sun Belt League title in that battle with Orange Vista. I think it was the first league game of the year back in week number 6. But anything jump out at you about North and maybe that explosive offense? They got several big time weapons, and that defense too. The defense was great.
The one thing that really stood out, and when you have to see them live to appreciate, the two backs are very talented. And number 30, the big back, he big body, he can move the piles, and it's sort of like that thunder and lightning. But the smaller back, I thought, well, he's just smaller, he's quick. Oh no, he's powerful. He's really powerful when he runs. He's a good hammer. It's a great 1-2 punch. They're a very physical football team. They're not afraid to mix it up. But the other one that really stood out to me was their quarterback. He can fling it. So he sat back on one play and just dropped it from the 50-yard line to the back of the end zone with a flick of the wrist. And they're going to be a tough matchup because you got to play all aspects of the ball. You got to be prepared for what they can do on offense. And like I said, they're a physical team on defense. And so special teams is always good, but they're going to give a lot of teams problems with that matchup.
Coach, as I'm looking at, Division 5, I love Division 5 because we do have North. North is going to open up against Capistrano Valley. That's a Riverside TV game. We got Beaumont against San Jacinto. We've got Summit against El Toro. Summit is also in Division 5. I really like the Division 5 matchups and the teams. Was there a division that kind of, stood out to you in terms of, man, those are some good matchups? Because I also look at Division 8. Elsinore, Temescal Canyon, Orange Vista. We've got a lot of local teams there. I just feel like some of these divisions, at least to me, they feel wide open. Like I feel like a team that maybe we're not talking about yet could make a run and string together a couple wins.
Yeah, the Temescal Canyon, Elsinore had an opportunity. We scrimmaged Temescal Canyon. We had an opportunity to play Elsinore. They're all great schools, but when you looked at it, what was the one? Forgetting right now. Monrovia with Norte Vista.
Yes.
Yeah, my goodness, I think where CIF really nailed it was the fact getting some of these teams together. It really looks like there's some good matchups in that one. But I'm going to follow a lot of these games closely because I really want to see what they do and how they end up. Some of the teams with the better records, do those records hold up when they play different teams, or is it gonna falter a little bit? I want to see how they come out and play.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm looking at the divisions again, and on Selection Sunday, I was trying to break it down and analyze a bunch of stuff and what this all meant. But as I look down, I thought Norte Vista going undefeated, winning a league championship, and they go on the road in Division 6. And Division 6, it's a pretty big division. That's going to be some good football there. But I think of a team of, let's say, like Aquinas in Division 7. Dude, I don't know how they got Division 7, but good on the Falcons. They might roll in Division 7.
Yeah, I can't see a lot of team matching up with them. They're always good and so competitive anyway. But yeah, I would just love to see. I would like to see how they came up with the divisions and the way they work. But maybe CIF will give us a peek at that one time, because I'd love to know.
Yeah, and Coach, also in Division 8, when Norte Vista played Ramona, I was thinking and I think Coach Batdorf even said this. It's not the worst thing in the world that whoever loses this game, because now we see Novi in Division 6, Ramona is in Division 8, and I guess you could say kind of the same scenario for Temescal Canyon. If Temescal Canyon would have won out and won the Ivy League, maybe they would have been up in a higher division or two, but instead they're also in Division 8 with Elsinore. So I think maybe losing a game later in the season in league play, maybe it wasn't the worst thing for some of these schools to be put in like a Division 8.
I think, Coach, I think the majority of the people, the coaches I've spoken to, are pretty happy with where they ended up. So, they may have not liked the process of how it got there, not knowing, but I think they all were pretty happy with the draws they got. And I think the competition is going to be fabulous. I think CIF is going to be, is going to benefit from seeing the good matchups. And, I want to see some of these, like I said, I want to see some of these other teams that we didn't get a chance to normally see, and see how they match up against, some of the local teams, around our area around here.
Well, Coach, listen, I always appreciate the time. I'm sure we'll see you, probably on the links, but maybe on the sideline again at some point. But thank you so much, Coach. I think the world of you, and maybe someday we can crack open a can of that Skyline chili together and watch some football.
Absolutely. I wish they'd build a Skyline or Gold Star out here. If people haven't had that, it's fabulous. They don't know what they're missing.
You know what? So if you get out of football, that's your next calling. You bring Cincinnati chili to Southern California, and you become the chili guy.
Shoot, I wish they'd let me do that. That might be an option. All options are on the table right now. But, yeah, we'll definitely get together, Pep, and I appreciate everything you do. I always tell you that. Anything you ever need, here for you, and, appreciate you.
Awesome. That is the great Dennis Gregovich, outgoing head football coach for the Hemet Bulldogs. And, he's been a lot of places, including Tockwitz, as the head coach. So, Coach, always appreciate it, and enjoy the offseason.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. That's Dennis Gregovich. Join us here on the Inland Sports Show. We're live on Twitter and YouTube right now. We'll upload it to Facebook a little bit later tonight, because it is a stay-at-home edition. Shout out to our director, Johnny Nunez, out there making a couple extra bucks out there with another gig tonight. We'll be back in studio next week. When we come back, we will talk more high school football playoffs here on the one and only Inland Sports Show. We'll be right back. Calling all athletes. Make sure you're at your very best by training at Boost Performance Training in Corona. Whether you're a football player, soccer player, baseball player, lacrosse, athletes from all sports and all levels train at Boost Performance Training. Led by former Centennial High School football star Ray Bass, you'll develop explosive power, become faster, and add that lean muscle. Don't be left behind and get a leg up on the competition at Boost Performance Training. Visit boosttrainingsystems.com for information on their training programs and also on the Bass School. That's the Bass Alternative School for student athletes. Trying to earn a scholarship? Maybe make the varsity team? Get a spot in the starting lineup? Well, let Boost Performance Training help achieve your athletic goals. The #1 sporting goods store in the Inland Empire is Ken's Sporting Goods in Norco. Whether you need new uniforms for the entire team, a Letterman's jacket, or new cleats for the upcoming season, check out Ken's Sporting Goods. Plus, now you can order masks with your favorite team, school, business, and more. Order for your entire team or organization. Visit KenSportingGoods.com for more information and for the latest on the big sales. Make sure to follow Ken Sporting Goods on Instagram and Twitter. So if you need team uniforms or sports gear, there's only one place to go in the Inland Empire. That's Ken Sporting Goods. And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show, everybody. A big shout out to Dennis Gregovich, the outgoing head football coach for the Hemet Bulldogs and longtime local coach. And he has played against a lot of these teams in the playoffs. He knows a lot of these coaches, so it's a lot of fun to get his insight on the CIF Southern Section playoffs. All right, now we're going to our guys. Now, these guys have seen more high school football than anybody, because every single Thursday, Friday, some Saturday nights, we are out there on the sidelines talking high school football. These are the guys shooting video and reporting, not only for the Inland Sports Show, but on Sports Weekly Live on IEMG every single Friday night at 11:05 p.m. Let's see, joining us, we got, Jacob Pedroza, Stephen Kono, Bradford Evans, Kendall Hollowell. I'm just going down the order, the way they line up here on my Zoom screen. And guys, here we are. We're finally in the high school football playoffs, and there's so much I want to talk about. But I'm going to go to each one of you guys, and I know we're all excited, almost like Christmas morning when we see the football brackets come out, and just get your initial impressions of a matchup or a team that just jumped out at you. So, Jacob, actually, you're on my screen right now. So, Jacob, what jumped out at you when you saw the brackets first come out?
I'd have to say Norco being in Division I, matching up versus Mater Dei. I thought they were going to slide down to Division II. You and I were talking about that, maybe seeing a matchup between Norco and Cajon. But we saw, Selection Sunday, that didn't happen. So, let's see if Norco can put up a fight against that tough Mater Dei team. Yeah,
they are going to be tough. I mean, they're the number one seed in Division I for a reason. I'll go down the row. Stephen Kono. Kono, what jumped out at you? I know you've seen a variety of different teams, specifically in San Bernardino County. What jumped out at you when you saw some of these matchups?
Well, the big one, I guess not the big one. I'm always excited to see Aquinas and what they'll do in the playoffs. They've already played Xavier Prep once this year and kind of handled them, so I'm guessing the outcome of this game is not going to be any different. And also, I'm excited to see what Citrus Valley is going to do. They've put up big numbers, have a great defense. They had that game against Centennial where they kind of held their own for a solid quarter and a half, but that's saying something when you're going up against a D1 and top 10 in the country. So I'm excited to see what they'll do as well.
And Kono too, when I saw the brackets come out, real quick to piggyback off what you said about Citrus Valley's the number one seed in Division III. So if you think about it, Citrus Valley just missed out on being put in Division II, and they put them in Division III. So I think that was actually a good thing for the Blackhawks, that they're in Division III as opposed to being like the last team to go into Division II.
Definitely.
All right, let's see. Who else is on my list? Oh, Bradford Evans is next, and he's usually deep inside the football cave on a Friday night for Sports Weekly Live. Bradford, what jumped out at you?
Well, there are a few games. I like some of the lower division games that we have. You have Grand Terrace playing. You also have a few other games like, as I look at my list here, San Bernardino taking on, I think it's Estancia over in Orange County. I like that one in Division 13. That's very interesting to me. And then, of course, Aquinas. Kono touched on that. But I'm also going to focus heavily here on what Stephen Kono's alma mater is going to be doing here on Friday night, Cajon. The Cajon Cowboys going all the way to Murrieta Valley to take on Vista Murrieta. That's going to be a tough game. I know Vista Murrieta have lost 3 games. Cajon's gone undefeated. But if you look down the list at what Vista Murrieta has done to some of these opponents lately, it's been ugly for the other team, and it's been really good. Vista Murrieta led by those 2 running backs, of course, and then Cajon on the other side, they're not bad either, and they've had a good run of things, 10-0. I mean, you couldn't do better than that, right?
And Bradford, you just mentioned it. Here Cajon goes 10-0, and I know you've seen them a couple times. They were really good this year. They're 5 straight Citrus Belt League champions. Undefeated through the regular season. It's like, oh, by the way, congratulations. You're going to go on the road in the first round, and not just on the road, but I mean, we know how good the Southwestern League is. Vista Murrieta was 1 point. Well, from time, but 2 points away from beating Murrieta Valley for the Southwestern League title. So this is a really good Broncos team, and now Cajon has to go on the road, and I think it's a toss-up. I think both those teams are really good.
Yeah, they're really balanced. I mean, I think Cajon is ranked in the Max Preps rankings 25th in the state, and Vista Murrieta are 21. So with that being said, this is going to be a heck of a matchup, I would imagine. And really for Cajon, what it's going to come down to is their explosive players. Freddie Fletcher and Jaquan Smith is really a guy that I want to look at heavily. Lately, and maybe mid-season, they weren't passing a lot to Jaquan Smith, and he wasn't getting as involved as he was at the beginning of the season in the spring. And Cajon kind of tapered off just like a little bit. So it's going to be really important for Martinez Miles to get Florida the ball at any cost. And if you guys don't know who Florida is, that's Jaquan Florida Smith, because he's from Florida. That's his nickname. That's what people call him. But that's going to be the most important thing for Cajon to try to pull off a victory against a very, very good Vista Murrieta team who have played some tough opponents.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because, every time the highlights come in on a Friday night, I see a lot of Freddie Fletcher for Cajon. I see a lot of Ethan Powell for Cajon. And it's like, oh, man, we see Florida Smith in there a little bit, but maybe they'll get him more involved on Friday against Vista Murrieta. And then real quick, again, you touched on the Broncos. Matt Caldera and Gavin Galzotti, they were on the Inland Sports Show a couple weeks ago. They go by the Pony Express because when you play Vista Murrieta, they're going to run the football. If you can't stop the run, they're going to run all over you.
Yeah, they're going to run the ball, and they also have a really good quarterback as well, Brady Jones. He doesn't throw the ball very deep, but he's pretty accurate with his passes. I think he has like a 69% completion percentage, 25 touchdowns, and threw his first interception against Vista Murrieta, or Murrieta Valley, pardon me, first one of the entire season. So he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and you can really ride on that when you have two good running backs. If you don't make a lot of mistakes and you just get the ball into good spaces, things can happen to your advantage if you're Vista Murrieta. So yeah, this is going to be a tough game for Cajon. I'm not saying they're not going to win, but how would you like to draw them in the first round, Vista Murrieta? It's not easy.
Yeah, and same thing for the Broncos too. It's like Vista Murrieta is like, oh great, we're playing 10-0 Cajon. Isn't there anybody else out there that we could play? Because again, they were 2 points away from winning the Southwestern League title, so they're that good. So I think it's just maybe this new playoff format that even these first round games are going to be tight. We've had some years in the playoffs where the first round and maybe even some second round games, but definitely the first round we had blowouts. Like we had big blowouts, and now I think it's so competitive that even these first round games, I feel like Cajon versus Vista Murrieta feels like a CIF championship game, let alone a first round game.
Yeah, I would completely agree there. If that was like, say that was Division 3, both these teams were in. Vista Murrieta's never in Division 3 though. It probably would be the CIF championship game if both those teams were on the other side of the bracket. But Division 2, you're getting some of the best teams in the state, minus those 8 teams in Division 1, which unfortunately Norco have to play 7 of those teams or whatever. It's tough. It's going to be a really good game, I would imagine. And I'm going to be covering it, so stay tuned for Friday.
You will be down there, yeah, so that should be a really good one come Friday night. Let's go to our guy who handles the land of the Big 8, Kendall Hollowell. You've seen him a couple times on the Inland Sports Show. Kendall, I don't see you on Zoom, but I'm hoping you're out there because we want to talk about Centennial and Norco, although they don't play this week. Remember, in Division 1, there's only 8 schools, so they're having a first-round bye for all those teams. They will get into the action next week, which would be technically the quarterfinals, and Centennial will be at home against Mission Viejo. Norco will play, as we mentioned, against mighty Mater Dei. Kendall, before we get to Centennial, give us some hope. Can Norco hang with this Mater Dei team?
What did Mike Thomas say next week? You never want to say never, but never. This is a team. They're extremely talented on offense, led by Kyle Krum at quarterback and Jaden Odd at running back. They're a very well-balanced group, and they have a number of Division I guys on the offensive side of the ball, but when you got to play Mater Dei, how unfortunate for them to draw them, because this is a very extremely talented team that could do damage if they were in a different division and not have to play Mater Dei in the first round.
Well, Kendall, for the sake of this conversation, as we look at Centennial versus Mission Viejo the following week, and I know it's kind of being dubbed the public school championship game, right? Like the 2 best public schools in the Southern Section. But if Centennial beats the Diablos like we think they will, does Centennial have a shot against Mater Dei?
Yeah, so I think the key for them, so I mean with Centennial, it's the same Centennial, different year. They got 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, and about 9 different receivers that they'll rotate in and can put up points for sure. I think the key for them, which has kind of been the issue for them in the years past, is can they avoid, being down early? Can they avoid being down Mater Dei and Bosco and those schools down 21-0? And can they put up some points of their own, especially very early on, to keep it, competitive going in the fourth quarter? I think that would be the key for them moving forward.
Now, Kendall, also real quick, so Roosevelt, also from the land of the Big Eight, they are in Division III with Citrus Valley here. They're going to open up against San Clemente. And I remember you saying several times throughout the season, you're like, hey, Roosevelt's pretty good. And when Roosevelt plays Norco, that's going to be a game. And Kendall, you were right. That was a pretty good game.
Yeah, Roosevelt, they do a couple of things that I like. One, they're very physical. They got about 3 different running backs that they'll use. Jacques Neal, Sir Warren, Micah Gooden. So, I mean, they'll really be physical with those teams. And on the outside, they're very athletic. They don't have a lot of variety when it comes to their passing game, but they do have athletes on the outside that can burn anybody on the outside with them.
All right, awesome, Kendall. Now I'm going to cycle back through you guys real quick because I do want to talk a little bit more, maybe about positions too, because Jacob, let me go back to you because, I want to talk running backs. We've seen several great running backs, and I know you've seen some in person, including Jojo Barajas at Yucaipa, who he was leading the state in rushing. Now it's the guy from Rim of the World, so it's another Inland Empire guy, Zach Gross. But Jojo Barajas, Eddie Elaine at Norte Vista, Zach Gross at Rim of the World, the Pony Express at Vista Murrieta. I'm probably leaving some guys out. Jeremiah Claiborne at Citrus Valley. I mean, there's so many great running backs here in the Inland Empire, Jacob. Who are some of the ones that you've seen, up close and personal? I know some CBL games.
Well, I've seen Freddie Fletcher in the last couple weeks and seen him against Yucaipa, which he went off. Wasn't fun to see. I've seen JoJo. JoJo's been off a lot. Jeremiah Claiborne against Yucaipa, that was a big game for him. He had a lot of big yardage plays over there. And, I think he had one 85-yard touchdown. I don't know if I put it on the show, but I do have the clip. But there was a big gap, and he just ran right through it, and he was gone for 85. But when it comes to that Yucaipa Dominguez game, you know who they're going to break down film on. They're obviously just going to break down on JoJo. But, I don't think you can break down as much film as you want, but when it comes down to actually seeing him, there's no way of stopping him.
Yeah, he's good. Again, we've been blessed with running backs this season for sure throughout the Inland Empire, and I've probably missed some guys and left some names out, but we've had so many great running backs this year. And Kono, let me go to you. Let me go from running backs to defense. Kono covered the only true league championship game that we had in week number 10. It was Summit against Eisenhower for the San Andreas League Championship, and Summit won a real battle 14-9. And it's funny, Kono, because we're kind of bookending the regular season because you covered their last game of the regular season, which was 14-9, only giving up 9 points against a very good Eisenhower team. And I saw Summit in the very first game in week 0, and they threw a shutout. What jumped out to you, Kono, about the Summit Skyhawks and maybe specifically, about that defense from what you saw at that game against Ike?
Well, the big guy on the defense, junior, Alaska Taufa, is an absolute beast. 11 sacks on the year, 15 hurries on the year. The guy literally just flies around, and he is involved in every single play. So he's going to be a really big part of Summit. I do have Summit actually taking out El Toro basically because of their defense. And not only that, but, their running back, Damari Owens, is 5'9", 200 pounds, and averages 10 yards a carry, an absolute bowling ball. So Alaska Tafua, and as far as Ike goes, their quarterback, that game was, I don't know, it wasn't the game that I expected because maybe they were so close in competition. Summit just seemed to, they both just seem to be in the red zone and then just stop. Like their red zone defenses on both sides is very good. So I'm not sure what Ike will do against Ventura, but I think it'll be a very close and low scoring game for sure.
Yeah, when you sent the highlights, it was a lot of stops in the red zone or field goals in the red zone.
Right.
And, 14-9, man. And I know Eisenhower, they can score a lot of points, but I think that Summit defense is just that good.
Yeah, Summit defense, they're very disciplined. There wasn't many flags thrown on the field, and they kind of are just consistent. They make the other team get angry, basically because they don't make any mistakes. So I think nothing will change in the playoffs.
All right, very good, Kono. Let me go to Bradford. And Bradford, I know you've seen Aquinas a couple times. We mentioned the Falcons just briefly, but I think if you're Aquinas, you are very pleased to be in Division 7 because the last, real high school football season we had, Bradford, was 2019, and they won the Division 5 championship. Now they're in Division 7, and I don't know. I feel like they're in the driver's seat. They're if not the team to beat, one of the teams to beat for that title.
I think you're right in that assessment, Pep, and sure they dropped down a few divisions, and probably that wouldn't have happened if they didn't have maybe the hardest schedule in the entire Inland Empire. I mean, Jordan Brusig's team literally played everybody they could, and it didn't matter. Like, they played Long Beach Poly, they played Upland, they played a few other teams that were really good. They went up to Reno and played a team that's one of the better teams in Nevada. This is a school with 500 kids, and they're not afraid to go up and play anybody, really. And they are one of the favorites. They're playing Xavier Prep, who are from the desert. They think they finished third in their league over there with some of those Palm Springs teams and stuff like that, Indio. But they've already played this season, and they handily beat Xavier Prep 33-14. So that was maybe one of the easier games in Aquinas' schedule, not to slight Xavier Prep at all, but I'm just go on Max Preps right now and look at the schedule that Aquinas played in. Every game they played in was close too. They played teams that were in Division 3, 4, really high quality opponents. And they're going to have to really rely on JoJo Solis, who in that last game that I covered, I don't know if anybody saw the highlights from on IMG TV, but JoJo Solis, just a freshman, is one of the key players for that offensive attack for the Aquinas Falcons. He's a major component. They run a lot. I mean, Aquinas likes to pound the rock, and why wouldn't you when you have some of those guys on that offensive line? Defensive line is very good and stout too. Sometimes they can have some lapses in play that can come to plague them. So it's like for a full game, I haven't seen them, and I'm not trying to disrespect them, I haven't seen them play like a full entire game that is just like on it. And I'm waiting to see that from Aquinas, and that could be maybe a potential Achilles heel in their CIF run in Division 7 is the fact that sometimes they have some lulls, maybe a fumble here and there, maybe a mistake that could cost them, and they really have to make sure that they nullify those mistakes. And I'm sure that they have been working on not trying to turn the ball over, just little tiny things that can kind of kill that momentum, because you'll see them for 4 or 5 drives. You're like, man, they are really good, and then they'll kind of let a team back in a little bit, and then they'll put the foot on the gas again. And, it's kind of up and down a little bit with them, but more up than down, I would say, with Aquinas.
Yeah, they're probably, they had a tough schedule. They're probably the best 5-5 team you're going to find in the playoffs because they played Long Beach Poly, they played Damien, they played, Spanish Springs. You mentioned the team up in Reno. Etowanda, Upland. They had a brutal schedule, so they're battle-tested. So they're probably the best 5-5 team in the playoffs. Guys, we're running out of time real quick. Let me go back to Kendall. Kendall, I wanted to bring up the Big 8 League because there's so many great players in the Big 8 League. I know Kyle Crum, the quarterback for Norco, he just recently committed to San Diego State University. In terms of talent level, and this is not a slight to any of the schools and other leagues that we cover, but I feel like the Big 8 League, and especially with Norco and Centennial going Division I, that feels like Division I college football. Like, there's so many guys that will be taking their talents to be playing on Saturday for these big-time programs across the country.
No, they definitely will. Norco's got about 4, I know for sure, that already have offers on that offense. A couple of good athletes. There's a lot of people, like you said, there's a lot of people on Centennial, Norco, and Eastville that will be playing on Saturdays, whether it is at the FBS level or FCS or Division II, but it's just a lot of talent across the the board on both sides of the ball for all these teams.
And Kendall, full disclosure, Kendall here played at Orange Lutheran. You played college football. When you look at a team, let's say Centennial in this case, do you look around and just be like, man, this is like a college football team that's, 16, 17 years old right now, but they're like a Division I college team out there?
No, they really are. I mean, they got all the guys, Carson Conklin, the quarterback, he's a junior. He has a number of mid-major offers. Jaden Mickey's a guy I like to watch a lot. He's committed to Notre Dame. Luke Conti is a defense, and I watched him, and it's just like, it reminds me of all the teams that I watched for Centennial growing up, and the teams that I played against when I was in high school. It's the same teams. I mean, they have offers, even their backups do. It's amazing what Matt Logan's done and how they've been able to, rebuild and reload. They're just like Alabama pretty much.
Yeah, it sure feels like it. Kendall, thank you so much. Kono, Bradford, Jacob, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I wish we could go further. I have another guest coming up, and we're going to talk some college basketball. But, man, there's so much stuff we can talk about here with the football playoffs. And, again, just a quick reminder to check out Sports Weekly Live every single Friday night. As long as we got local teams still alive in the playoffs, we'll keep doing it on IEMG. That is Sports Weekly Live on the IE Media Group YouTube channel. Scores, highlights, sometimes interviews as well. So make sure you check it out at least this Friday for all your first round of playoff action. Guys, thank you so much. We're going to jump into a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will have Kyle McDonald from the WAC Hoops Digest to talk some CBU men's and women's basketball. That's next here on the Inland Sports Show. The time is now. The Boost Training Center is open for business and ready to help all the athletes across the Inland Empire. Doesn't matter the age or the sport, if you go to Boost Training with Coach Ray Bass, they're going to make you bigger, faster, stronger. So if you're out there looking to train this offseason, talking about all you football players especially, check out boosttrainingsystems.com. That is the website. You can find a strength and speed class just for you this offseason so you can be even bigger, better, faster, stronger this upcoming season. Give them a call or text at 951-532-4904 to reserve your spot today. Strength and speed training at Boost Training System. And don't forget, enrollment is open right now for the Bass School. That's Boost Alternative School for student athletes. You can check out what they have to offer at boosttrainingsystems.com. That is the website once again, and you can enroll for the 2021-2022 school year. Again, this is not an online school. This is a private school specifically for 7th and 8th grade boys. Check it out today because space is limited.
Thank God, first of all. I thank the great people that I've got around me that help support me, the people that work for me. As I started, if it wasn't for the people around me, we probably wouldn't be here right now, but I've got a great staff. I've got great people that do stuff for us outside the store, and we've been very, very fortunate. Our service is impeccable, and we just keep trying to get better every year. We can do online stuff for your teams, as well as, like I said, the screen printing, the embroidery. We also have 3 women that do extra sewing for us, like tackle tool on uniforms, or the bling or rhinestones for different shirts for the ladies. That's why we have certain racks just for certain schools, and the fun about that is that it turns into other schools that may come in here that aren't as close, that we can do stuff for them as well. We've had very, very good customers throughout the years, and it's just been a blast.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show, everybody, as we break down the high school football playoffs. But here we are. College basketball has snuck up on us. Opening night, less than a week away, next Tuesday night. We're talking some California Baptist University basketball, as well as the Western Athletic Conference with Kyle McDonald from the WAC Hoops Digest. And Kyle, first off, people are about to see the video. You're not inside a gym. You're not at a basketball practice. I'm sure you normally are, working the trail of the WAC, but you're at a big softball game, a championship game? What's going on?
It's league night, Pep. It's league night. We're trying to finish up our tournament for our league. We've had 3 weeks of bad weather on Wednesdays, which has derailed all that. So, before the basketball season tips off for real here next week, I have to get this in and get all the, exercise out because I'll be sitting in front of a TV or a live stream or, my computer watching games as much as possible for the next, 3-4 months.
So Kyle, full disclosure, so you are in, the state of Utah, right?
State of Utah, correct.
So here we go, less than a week away from the start of the WAC basketball season. And I'll go ladies first, Kyle, because how do you not, when you talk about CBU basketball, how do you not start with the Lancers women's basketball team and the season that they're coming off? And Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, what's scary is they got the band back together. I mean, they could be even better than last year. What's your thoughts?
Well, first off, I think it's amazing that Jared Olson kept the entire crew together. I don't think there's a lot of teams that have been able to do that, especially from a team that went 24-0. You would think that there's some players that either could have left because they were done with school or they could have, been grad transfers somewhere else. But Jared Olson did an amazing job keeping all of those players together. I think they're primed for another run. I don't know if they're going to go 24-0. The schedule's a little bit more difficult this year in the non-conference. Plus, the new additions with Stephen F. Austin, who is just reloaded down there, and they've had great success as one of the new Texas 4 schools. GCU is reloaded. It's just going to be an interesting run to see how if they can repeat what they did last year. What was it, one of the 5 teams that have gone undefeated all the way through a regular season and conference title. I think it was UConn and other schools that they were up there with. It was just amazing. But the fact that Jared Olson, the head coach, got every single one of those players back, I think that there's a lot of love between the players and Jared Olson that they would want to come back and play for him another year.
Yeah, I think they realized how special last year was, and they thought, you know what? Let's do it again. Like you said, the schedule's going to be tougher, but they got everybody back. They might even be more healthy than they were last year. It's just kind of a scary thought that, they were so good last year. And it's going to be hard to duplicate what they did last year, but could they, come close to that because they do have all the pieces in place?
I think that's going to be the big key is staying healthy because, right now, knock on wood, everything's a go to have a regular year this year with the travel, with, playing the regular type of schedule instead of back-to-backs and so forth. So can they stay healthy? And, they're going to have to win some road games, especially in conference play. Going down to Nacogdoches, I believe that's how you say that in Texas where SFA is. Phoenix is always difficult. And even Utah Valley here in Orem, it's just if they can even – I don't want to say they're going to go undefeated because I don't think they will. But if they come close to what they did last year, again this year, Jared Olson should be in all National Coach of the Year discussions if they're able to do that.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe it's not realistic to think they can do exactly what they did last year because that was a special season that we probably won't see again for a long, long time. But if they can come close to that, I think they've probably met that expectation, that new standard they have for this women's basketball team. Kyle, let me transition. Let me pivot to the men's basketball team as well. And I know at least for the CBU men, the WAC is loaded. I feel like there's a lot of teams that are going to be log jammed in the middle of those standings. And I know in the preseason poll, CBU is maybe in the top half of the middle. But where do you see the Lancers, the men's team, kind of fitting into this Western Athletic Conference picture?
Perfectly. That's the best word to describe it because they have some of the best guards in the WAC. Tyrell, Trey Armstrong, Reed Nottage can play anywhere on the floor. I just think that they have some of the best guards in the WAC, so they can compete with anybody because it's a guard-heavy league. Everybody has 3 or 4 guards, maybe 5 or 6 on some teams. They can come on the floor and impact it at any time. Plus, the additions that Rick Croy has brought on, it's just, and they still got the size. Like they had Gorjak Gak last year. They have Pavel. I haven't learned how to pronounce his last name. Zakharov.
I think it's Zakharov. Yeah.
Yeah. The big guy from Gonzaga that transferred in. The Aiken kid from UMBC who was part of that team that that upset Virginia in the NCAA tournament. There is plenty to love about this CBU team. They can shoot the lights out, but they can be physical. They defend well, and plus playing at the CBU Event Center, especially with a full capacity crowd now, it's a difficult place to play. So I think they're exactly where they need to be in order to make noise in this conference, because you want to have those good guards and you want to have that size. And we're not even talking about the 2, I guess they could still be considered freshmen because they got the free year from COVID with Cajon Sawyer and Malik Wade. They're deep too this year. I like CBU's depth. It's just going to be a fun team to watch, like it always is. And they're going to shoot, like I said, they're going to shoot the lights out, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. There's a lot of people that I don't think realize how good CBU is. I was one of them, kind of, I guess you want to say, on the edge of things, but really looking at their roster, they're very deep, talented, and they have some of the best guards, which is what you need in this WAC.
And Kyle, I think that's what jumped out at me. I think that key word you just said was depth, because last year, doing their games, the rotation was 7 guys. They had their 5 starters who played they started every single game last year, and they had 2 guys come off the bench. But I think they've got depth now. They've got, like you said, Rao and Nottage and Armstrong and Elijah Thomas, and then you bring in all these transfers. Chance Hunter from Long Beach State. This is going to be a really good that starting nucleus is back, and now you've got all this depth. I think that's the key word, is they're going to have a deep bench.
Well, and think about it, we're not even mentioning another name, the freshman Taron Armstrong, who played with the U19 Australian team, who, from what I'm reading, is just a flat-out stud. And, from what I'm being told by, people around the program, that he's going to make an immediate impact. So, yeah, there's a ton of depth on this CBU team. And like you said, they didn't have that last year. I remember going to the Utah Valley California Baptist game here in Orem. Ty Rowell fouled out with, I think it was with 15 minutes left in the second half. Had he not fouled out, I think CBU actually sweeps that series because I believe they pulled off they got beat the next night, but still, it just, you can tell the impact that these guys have, that they need to stay on the floor, but the depth that they brought in, the veterans that they brought in, the guys that have played at that high level. Rick Croy I think he's ecstatic about what he's got on his roster this year.
I think so too. I think they've got some great experience coming back with their starters, and now the depth. I think they're set up to have a really nice season. Kyle, well, listen, the Sultan of SWAT will let you get back to the big game. Hit one out for the Inland Sports Show. We'd appreciate it, and hopefully we'll cross paths at some point this season.
All right. Thanks, Pep, for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. That's Kyle McDonald from WAC Hoops Digest. Join us here on the Inland Sports Show. Breaking it down as we talk Lancers basketball. Again, opening night, less than a week away. The men's team will open up at home against San Francisco State. The women will play just across the freeway at UC Riverside. We will take a quick commercial break here on the Inland Sports Show. When we come back, we'll wrap things up. We'll pass out our high school football game of the week, our must-see game of the week for Ken Sporting Goods on our Boost Top 25 poll. We'll be right back.
Hey, the Clippers, they lost last night to the Cleveland Cavaliers 92-79, and a quick shout-out to our guy, Evan Mobley, the pride of Rancho Christian High School in Temecula, who was the 3rd overall pick in the NBA draft. Evan going for 12 points, 10 rebounds for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and, coming home to SoCal and beating the Clippers, that's got to be a great feeling for Evan Mobley. top. And in the AFC, are if we're talking local teams, the Chargers, they've got the New England Patriots, who absolutely exploded on offense. And our guy J.J. Taylor, we were talking about this from Centennial, scored a couple touchdowns for the New England Patriots in that huge win against the Jets. Now, the Jets are bad, but maybe the Patriots are starting to put it together here. And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show as we're wrapping things up here on a Wednesday night. Live from home, our director, Johnny Nunez, who is the very best in the business. He is working another gig tonight, so we're doing it from home. We'll be back in studio come next week. All right, so let's wrap things up. We still have to get to our Ken Sporting Goods must-see game. If you follow us on Twitter, and I hope you do, you already know what it is, and this one is, well, it's going to be a real battle for Middle Earth, and it will be the granddaddy of them all this week. It is mighty Vista Murrieta at home against 10-0 Cajon, first round of the Division II playoffs, and I put this out on social media that this feels like a CIF championship game, but no, instead it's a first round game in Division II. And Vista Murrieta, your runner-up in the Southwestern League, and you got Cajon 10-0 during the regular season, your 5-time CBL champion. What's not to love, right? So that is our Ken Sporting Goods must-see game this week. And also, here's some other, well, big-time first-round games coming up, games that we're excited about. Murrieta Valley will take on Edison, also in Division II. So we got some local schools in D2 trying to make a run at the title. Division III, Citrus Valley is the #1 seed in D3. They will take on Apple Valley, and that's kind of a tough first-round game for the Blackhawks. Apple Valley is pretty good. In Division IV, Chaparral. They will be at home against a league champion, Palm Desert. But I like the Pumas in this one. Beaumont against San Jacinto. B-City versus the Jack, the sequel, Part 2, Playoff Edition. That's in Division 5. San Jack won the first meeting 44-33. Can they do it again? In Division 5, 10-0 JW North. They will be at home at 3rd in Chicago against Capistrano Valley. In Division 6, we find North Vista, and like Cajon, you go undefeated during the regular season, you win a league title, and you still go on the road. They will take on Monrovia. And in Division 7, we mentioned this as we're breaking down all the games, really like Aquinas in Division 7. They'll open things up against Xavier Prep. They already beat them once. Bradford had to score, I think it was 33-14 Falcons, I want to say. But, yeah, they had a big win against Xavier Prep the first time around, and I expect them to do it again in the first round in Division 7. All right, from there, let's go to our Boost Performance Training Top 25 poll. Not a lot of changes here. Centennial on top. Let's see. Let's go down the list. We got San Jac at 7 and Beaumont at 10. Want to point those out because they're going head-to-head. Roosevelt creeps up to number 9. 11 through, I would say, about 15, 16. That's where it gets a little muddled because a lot of these teams I think are very, very close. Summit, Novi, Harupa Hills, Aquinas, and then we got a bunch of teams. And, what do you do with the Ivy League? With Temescal Canyon, you got Elsinore, you got Heritage. All three of them are co-champions in the Ivy League. And if you think about it, Yucaipa beat Temescal Canyon, I think it was 24-7. So it's like you got to keep Yucaipa in front of the Ivy League schools, I guess, but that was earlier this season. I know things change, so it's just really hard to make sense of where we should place these teams right now this deep into the season. But you got to reward the teams that are doing well and going into the playoffs. So that's how the Boost Top 25 looks right now as we go into the first round of the playoffs. And finally, let's end on a happy note, right? In the TV news, my background, call this the kicker. And tonight's kicker is, well, it's from San Bernardino Valley College, the home of Notre Dame High School, and that is Coach Rick Pontius. Yes, he just got down on one knee. Coach Pontius proposing, and that's his fiancée now, Monique. Congratulations to Coach and Monique. He proposed during right before the start of their final game for Notre Dame against Heritage High School out there at SBVC. And she said yes. She said yes, everybody. So don't you worry. Monique said yes. So congratulations to Coach and his future wife. And, doing it on a football field, right? Appropriate, I guess, for a coach. And I'm sure she's already at the game. She's got the Notre Dame gear, so she knows the life of a football wife, right? And I know all the coaches out there who watch the Inland Sports Show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not for everybody, but congratulations to Coach and his future wife, Monique. Man, that is really, really special. She follows me on Instagram. She sent me the video. Monique Renee, if I could give her a shout out real quick, and Coach Pontius. Congratulations to you guys. That's really awesome. All right, big shout out to our guest, Kyle McDonald from the WAC Hoops Digest, Dennis Gregovich, local football coach, the outgoing coach for the Hemet Bulldogs, and of course, all our guys behind the scenes here at the Inland Sports Show and Sports Weekly Live who go out every single Thursday, Friday, and even sometimes Saturday nights to bring you the most comprehensive high school football coverage here in the Inland Empire. That's going to do it for this show. Home edition. We will be back in the Teen Vision TV 16 studio next week. We are all good. Everyone is healthy. It's just our awesome director, Johnny Nunez, had another gig tonight. So here I am at home, the Fernandez Casa. All right. My name is Pep Fernandez. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. Stay safe. God bless you. And we'll see you next week as we talk about the second round, the quarterfinals of the high school football playoffs. We'll see you next time.